Welcome, everyone, to the ScreamCast, the podcast that dives into the depths of Scream Factory and gets all sticky. I'm your host, Sean DeRager. With me,
what does that mean?
I don't know.
Yes, I'm Brad. What is sticky?
I don't know.
Oh, God.
Our movie today does have some sticky situations, which we will go into. But today we're talking about The Island, which has no business being a Scream Factory release, but we'll get into that further. But first, we need to introduce our special guest. Morgan Peter Brown is on the show. Welcome, sir.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm happy to be joining you.
Morgan is the...
Yeah, Morgan!
Thanks, Brad!
Morgan has been... he's
Go
known...
ahead, Sean, sorry.
Jeez, you derail me every time. Morgan, of course, known for his role in Absentia. Absentia.
It's all right. It's our way of continuing to mess with people as it goes on.
And I'm told I'm told you did a little stint on Parks and Rec for one episode.
I've done a decent amount of television. I did Parks and Rec and How I Met Your Mother, Castle, and a short-lived TBS comedy called The Wedding Band, which was on last year as well. Last year. I do a decent amount of work in TV and independent film and occasional commercials as well.
So you're like the all-around actor, like the all-American, like when you actually really think about like the commercials, the TV, the movies, all that kind of shit, like you're just not like in that one spot. So you're like the all-American actor, boy. You're my dream.
Well, thank you. Yes. I mean, I don't know of anyone who can really, unless you're the highest of the high, like movie star or something like that, who can afford to just say, I'm only going to do this. The reality of our world is that you get work where you can, and some of it's great, and you're very proud of it, like Absentia, as I produced and was in. We filmed it a few years ago. It's done really well. And I loved all my TV work I've done, but, and you can't always, work comes and you take it, and sometimes it's, a day and a line here, and then sometimes it's like a couple weeks on a movie where you're really slogging it and you're really like something you're proud of. And then sometimes you're just another cog in the wheel for a bit.
Well, I'm glad you're all over the place.
Thanks, Brad.
I just wish you did more movies.
I'm working on it, buddy. Jeez.
I know. I just want to see your face.
I did not come on this podcast to be abused.
I just want to see your face.
Yeah, this podcast exists so Brad can abuse whoever's on.
Got it.
Which is mostly me most of the time.
Right. I'm here to take some of the pressure off of you, Sean.
Please. I suffer from what they call foot and mouth disease occasionally, so...
We'll do our best.
Both of you guys are in for a treat on this show, then.
Oh, my God. This movie. I already have a problem. I do think it deserves to be a Scream Factory release. I took so many notes on this movie. This movie is insane. I kind of love it, but like this movie's fucking bananas.
Well, let's go ahead and just dive right into it. Today we are talking about 1980s The Island, not to get confused with Michael Bay's masterpiece from
no Ewan McGregor, no
from 1997.
That's right.
Yeah, unfortunately, no.
1997.
That sounds right.
Is it? I don't know. You think I know exactly like?
There's no way Michael Bay's movie came out in 1997.
2005. Sorry,
I was
Jesus,
close.
Sean.
Way off.
Oh my God!
I was thinking 97 was very early for a Scarlett Johansson starring role.
Oh yeah,
dude, that would have been like before like Armageddon, man.
I have nothing, Fuck you
Anyway.
guys. Here we go. So we're talking about The Island.
This is why I abuse you.
I told you, I suffer from foot and mouth disease, and you gotta understand, like, I try to prepare for these shows, but in between preparing for these shows and trying to read things, I got Frozen on in the other room. I got a 18-month-old running around. Got a
Oh man.
8-year-old daughter full of drama, and then I got a 6-year-old son who just wants to play Minecraft all day. So, I get numbers mixed up, and, I try my best, people.
You have my sympathy.
You're doing a good job, Sean.
I attempted to watch Absentia to try to catch up, because I was behind. But in between the kid and Frozen, I got everything all mixed up. So
Don't stress it.
Frozen Absentia in my head.
Wow. We may have to work on that one for our next film. I'll try and...
Well, I think every time I see Morgan's face now, I'm just going to hear "Let It Snow" for some reason.
Oh, great. No problem. I've had worse associations with my face.
I'm sorry, but did you say "Let It Snow"?
Yes, the song in
Isn't it "Let
Frozen.
It Go"?
Then it
Isn't
says
it "Let
both.
It Go"?
Do you want me to sing it for you? I can sing it for you.
He is a father of 3.
Do it.
I'm not going to do it.
No, that's all right.
Oh, come on.
Let it snow, let it snow. Like that. See if they say "Let it snow."
That's good. You got a nice
So here I
voice.
stand with in my hand. That's not how it goes.
I haven't seen it. I can't call you on. I have not seen Frozen yet. I'm ashamed of myself.
I don't understand what it is, but my 18-month-old boy loves the hell of that movie, and I'm hoping it's just because he sees these 2 animated bombshells singing, and he's like,
Sure,
checking them out. So
Yeah.
that's what I'm gonna stick to. Either that, or he's gonna be in like Glee 2030,
could be worse.
which could be.
I think obsessed with the animated girls would be worse.
That's what I
Sean.
say. Because that Frozen girl is too sassy. All right, God, where are we going here? So, The Island, 1980.
I don't know.
Directed by Michael Ritchie and written by Peter...
Bad News Bears.
Yes.
Bad News Bears.
And written by Peter Benchley based on his novel. And he is the author of Jaws. So...
And this is the only movie that Benchley was solo credited screenwriter, right?
Probably. I mean...
It's the only one where he's the only one to blame for the screenplay.
Oh yeah, totally, and you could tell. Yeah, I blame him for everything.
I should probably apologize because it was my suggestion to watch this movie. I love Peter Benchley movies. Jaws is my favorite movie of all time, and I love The Deep as well. With Nick Nolte and Louis Gossett.
Yeah, The Deep's pretty good.
So great. And I'd never seen The Island, and I had been warned by Elric Kane from Killer POV and Jump Cut Cafe. He's like, it's pretty weird. And I'm like, no, it sounds great. I want to check it out. And boy, pretty weird is light.
Yeah. So
yeah,
the basic plot basically is this Michael Caine's character, Blair Maynard, is an investigative writer, and he wants to try to investigate these missing boats and tourists and things kind of off the coast of some Caribbean island or whatever. And so he, for some reason, gets stuck with his son, and because he's divorced, and it's his weekend to watch the kid. So, hey kid, we're gonna go search for missing boats. And they get wrapped up, and hijinks ensues, as they say.
There's a couple different things going on with this movie that kind of spoke to me of the time, which is there's that the plight of the single dad thing. It's the early 80s. It's divorce is becoming more and more prevalent in our society. This is like the worst case scenario version of Kramer versus Kramer. There's Dustin Hoffman, taking care of his kids on one side, and then there's Michael Caine. He buys his son a gun within the first 10 minutes. Then he tries to smuggle that gun in his son's pants, and another 10 minutes later on, he gets his son into a plane crash. He is the worst single father ever.
The worst. And he's okay with this kid reading Playboy, which is...
Yep, totally okay with that.
Hey, Playboy and gun. Let's do it.
That's right. And then there's also that thing of this movie kind of stinks of the suburban middle-aged middle-class male escapism fantasy.
Yes.
You're going to be captured by pirates, and I feel like you could build a business of this by kidnapping rich CEO types for a weekend and taking them on an adventure. fitting the story of this movie.
I think so.
I have nothing to say. I don't like the island at all.
So we got to get Brad. We got to get this out of the way right now since Brad's over there sulking. So Brad, what was it that you didn't like mainly about the island? What was kind of your,
well,
for starters, main beefs?
Well, before we actually dive into that, I think it would be fun to tell our audience that none of us have actually seen the island before, just like a couple days ago. Nope. Sean, Morgan, myself, none of us have seen the island. And it was a little odd for me because it's really bizarre. Because if you came into my house and you saw that I had the VHS of the island and the novel of the island, you would think I was a fan because I also have the Blu-ray. But I haven't seen this shit. I never read the book. It was just one of those things where I always kind of put it off to the side because in my heart, I just knew that this movie was going to be super goddamn slow. And just, I heard it was kind of batshit crazy.
Yep.
But it is batshit crazy, of course, because there's a lot of like weird shit that happens. But it just didn't appeal to me. It was more or less a boring crazy, like, instead of like your mouth, going open or, you put your hand, like get excited. It was just kind of like, oh shit, they're doing this now. And I don't know, it went on for so long. I just had so many problems like with the pirates and, being descendants of pirates for what was like 300 years or some bullshit. And it was just like, all these people are on this island doing this thing. Why?
Yeah, it was a little thin. It was a little thin. They were sort of. I think they tried to excuse at one point. The drunk British doctor tried to excuse, like, because it is the Bermuda Triangle. This is Peter Benchley's like attempt to say, why have all these boats disappeared in the Bermuda Triangle? It's because there's a secret society of pirates in there that are, killing and pillaging and killing and robbing middle-aged boaters out in the middle of the Caribbean.
And I would be totally cool with that, except for there's like 5,000 goddamn pirates.
Yeah, there's a lot of them. It is a pretty big society.
Like, I would be really cool with like, like 8 elite fucking pirates that, did fucking tricks and had special powers. I would be down for that. But it was just like, so many of them, and the way, and especially, well, I guess this isn't a spoiler, but the boy just automatically like fucking clicks with the pirates and is like, "Fuck you, Dad."
There's a question of that, yeah, because they use the little girl who we see them kidnap about like 10 or 15 minutes in, and then I think you find out the timeline of the movie is very shaky. You find out that like that had happened like a week earlier, and then it's a week later, and this little girl is already like actively being used as bait. And just, totally down with the pirates, watching people get their throats cut and smiling and being creepy.
Well, they show that they do some sort of like not mind control, but they do some sort of brainwashing, sleep deprivation, keeping their eyelids open and things like that. And I have no idea if that works or not, but that's kind of how they explain it, I guess.
I mean, I know that like they have like the little toothpicks or something on his eyes and they're talking to him, but it would have been like, I'm not saying like do this, but in my eyes, and what I think that would have worked, like, are you guys familiar with like Who Can Kill a Child or like the remake Come Out and Play?
Yeah.
Well, like those kids, they go up to one another, they whisper in some. It's almost like a fucking disease, and like it just automatically kids can turn. Now, if it was a little bit darker and the pirates were not really pirate, like didn't consider themselves pirates, but some kind of like cult. That would have worked a little bit better for me. Then I would have understood. Like, I wouldn't need to see them speak to the kid. I wouldn't need to see anything. But if it was, like, dark and mysterious, it would have worked a little bit better. And then a wider range of people also would have worked. But it's just like, how many people can be in this group and not say, well, fuck this. Why don't I just go to the fucking, where does this take place? In Florida?
It was
right?
It was technically like, south.
It
of
started
Florida.
in Florida.
Yeah, right.
I live in Florida, so fuck Florida. I wouldn't want to come here and get a job. But anyways, go to fucking Texas or something. Like, just swim on the shore and get a fucking job or something. It's just way too many people robbing and doing this batshit crazy bullshit. I just couldn't buy it, and that's the reason why I don't like it. Sold.
Wow.
Wow.
Well, hey,
I think. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, we can probably just. I mean, I have the feeling like we're gonna kind of start spoiling the island. So, I mean, I don't think there's a whole lot really to spoil. It's just kind of an adventure flick. But if you're kind of spoilers spoilers buggy or whatever, I would say, if you want it, if you really, really don't want to get spoiled with the island, pause this, go watch the island, come back and continue. But, I just want to throw that out there. That way we can just free for all talk about this flick and not really, worry about anybody, emailing us back and bitching and moaning. What do you guys think?
Yes, I agree. Let's go spoiler alert and talk and really dive into this.
Because
I can agree with Brad that it is an odd movie, and I did enjoy myself though, and there are aspects of it, just like reading up on it, because of the time it came out, of the people that made it. Because it was produced by Zanuck and Brown, who were the Jaws guys. It was written by Benchley, who's the Jaws guy. Michael Ritchie, who's a very successful director, though most of his stuff, except for like early stuff he did with Robert Redford, was comedies. It was Bad News Bears, and then later he did Fletch, and he did The Golden Child. He did a lot of these very successful comedies. And then there is this intense, weird, really violent movie.
Super violent.
An incredibly expensive movie. Did you look that up too? In 1980, this was a $22 million budget.
Wow.
Jesus.
Just to put that into perspective, the number one movie of 1980 was Empire Strikes Back, which cost $18 million. This movie was more expensive than The Shining and Empire Strikes Back.
Wow. And it looks like it only made about close to 16 million.
Right. It did not make its money back.
No.
And the music by Ennio Morricone, it's probably a beautiful score by itself, but like what Brad's talking about, the tone shifts where it's like it's not as dark as it should be at times, and it's like this is, even if sometimes some of the stuff you're seeing on screen is kind of messed up, like there is a scene later on where they like destroy and pillage this beautiful schooner out in the middle of the ocean.
Oh, I feel so bad for the schooner.
And they are killing these tourists, but Ennio Morricone's music is very kind of light and adventurous, and it's just sort of like da da da, and it's like they are killing tourists right now. This is not like light and happy music. This is some fucked up shit.
One thing I noticed...
Yeah, I was down for that because they did that twice.
They did it twice.
They did it at the end. And, like, I still would have been okay. Like, that was actually something that stood out, and I was like, oh, like, I kind of opened my eyes a little bit more, and I was like, oh, shit, like, that's cool. But then when it ended, it was, like, right back to, fucking just boring. Like, they hit so many, like, cool notes. Like, you guys are saying it was violent. It's not that violent. There's a couple. I think there's a couple scenes, like the opening scene when it happened.
The opening scene feels like a slasher flick. Yeah.
Yeah, I was watching it. I was like, holy fuck, why haven't I watched The Island yet?
Yeah.
And then, it got into the story, and I was like, okay, I'm digging this. And, like, he goes to get his son, a gun, and the kid's, like, naming all the guns that are on the rack. And he, like, goes to shoot, and then Michael Caine shoots, and he's like, perfect shot. I was like, oh, shit.
For 1980, it was pretty violent when you take into, or at least disturbing when you take into the fact there's several scenes of a child shooting people in the face.
That's true, yeah.
And Michael Caine, big spoiler, guns down 50 people to end the film.
That was his Rambo moment.
Which, by the way, was the hilarious aspect of the fact that he didn't really check very closely if his son was in that crowd before he opened fired on all of them.
No, and he's actually surprised to see his son come up. He's oh shit!
He's like, oh good, I didn't kill you. Okay, I wasn't sure. because you probably were in that group of people.
But the way he shot that gun was like he was ejaculating the bullet.
Oh yeah, no, he'd had it all. He was so fed up by that point.
I mean, that gun is flying up and down, left and right. There's like, I guarantee if you put 50 people in front of him, he probably would have hit 3 the way he was shooting that shit.
Oh, give Michael Caine a break, man.
It's Michael Caine. Come on.
And it was just, I don't know. It was just one of those moments where it was like, holy shit, he's mowing everybody down. But then I couldn't stop laughing of how he's actually shooting a weapon.
That's the other thing that I forgot to bring up, which is that the realization that apparently as long as it films in the Caribbean, Michael Caine will do any movie when you look at this and Jaws the Revenge. Which, both movies probably did not end up that great, but boy, if it films in the Virgin Islands, Michael Caine is there. As long as you're paying his check, you're all good.
Oh, he also makes that comment when he's like on the boat. And, he's like, they're like, free this, free beer. And then he mentions about wine and like a steak dinner or some bullshit.
Right.
And I was like, that's fucking Michael Caine. Like, that's what actually got Michael Caine to do this movie. They probably promised him like prime rib and fucking wine every night on the beach.
And you're working in the Virgin Islands or wherever they are, the Bahamas. I mean, he's having a good time. Michael Caine knows what he's doing.
Well, I think that's the most frustrating thing about this movie is because it opens up with like you said, slasher style gore. When a dude gets an axe to the face and then another guy gets like pretty much, I guess, disemboweled, and they show like the brutality of it. I leaned forward and I was like, all right, we were in for something awesome. And Brad is right. Like once it does get. Him and his son basically get captured and it gets to the island. Things kind of do slow to a crawl. They keep Michael Caine's character alive because he basically needs to get the only woman left apparently, in this group of people. They need to get her pregnant. So he's going to do the thrusting as they call it. to get her pregnant.
Give good thrust.
Yes.
Boy, yeah, and what
that
kind
was
of
fucking hilarious.
Weird stuff is that when they're like, all of the rest of the women are so inbred and diseased that she's the only one who can bear children. And it's like, what is this movie?
I don't know if they just couldn't get any more women actors to come along for the ride, and they had to explain that away or what, but
let's talk about the first time we see our female lead, where she comes out to him.
Oh, in the mud?
Mud woman.
Yes.
She is full mud woman. It's like, and there's a few moments that are like, what movie am I watching? The flaming headdress in that there's several sequences of like, whoa, you guys are getting weird. And then they just sort of leave it behind, and then it'll pop up again.
Yeah, the flaming headdress.
Enters the boat. Yeah, and it starts, and then it comes in. That's the guy that like grabs the shotgun, right?
Right. Flaming headdress maybe not the best way to sneak up on someone. No. I'm just gonna say.
Yeah, and I was watching it. I was like, is that motherfucker on fire?
It looked like a scene out of the end of Kill List. It looked like it looked like some very weird Argento stuff. Yeah.
But then it just stops, and I'm like, I just want to get this over with, so I'm not going to rewind it. But yeah, I totally noticed the guy on fire, and it was like, what tactic is that? Like, if you're running towards people and you're on fire, I'm going to motherfucking run.
Yep.
But like, if you're sneaking up on people and you're just like creeping around and you're burning yourself, that's not very smart.
Yeah, he does bring it back during the schooner attack. You see him just all of a sudden just light his head on fire and run onto the boat, and it makes no sense at all.
And then they fight the white guy in short shorts who knows kung fu.
Yes.
Which is one of maybe my favorite sequences in a movie ever now. There is a 3 solid minutes about an hour 10 into this movie where you will not be able to take your eyes from the screen.
It's incredible. He's doing the Bruce Lee sounds too, and this is some suburb guy or upper class guy who watched a lot of Bruce Lee movies. And
you find out later he's probably on a lot of cocaine.
Most likely. If you're going to take on a band of pirates, using, not very good kung fu, you're definitely on cocaine for sure.
Definitely. That cocaine subplot was so weird. Like, where the hell did that come from?
Yes, speaking of cocaine, there is a cocaine subplot. I guess they do that just to bring the Coast Guard in.
I guess that was maybe the only reason.
They need some device to get the cocaine in. But
that and Michael Caine's amazing line of the pirate woman asks him, "What is this?" He's like, "It's a drug called cocaine." She says, "What does it cure?" And he says, "Insecurity."
I was hoping that the cocaine would. I mean, you'd think that cocaine would make a callback into how he escapes. Like he drugs them. You know what I mean? He takes a pouch and puts it in their food. Or I was waiting for kind of a callback.
Oh God!
No, he
like
just entirely
way,
lucks out that the Coast Guard is coming looking for all of that cocaine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I definitely won't spoil this because this movie is not really out yet. Mainly because it blows.
Well,
but Eli Roth has a sequence somewhat similar, something like that, in The Green Inferno.
Involving cocaine?
No, it's involving something else.
Oh, okay.
But when it happens, I remember everybody in the audience just like looking at one another. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, are you serious right now?
I haven't seen The Green Inferno yet.
Yeah.
But I think I joked about it on Twitter at one point where I want to do like just a web series of my friends describing scenes from The Green Inferno to me. Because just all of my friends who have seen it are like, so there's this moment when it's like, okay,
that film is made just for moments, and basically, long story short, I'm really glad they didn't do the cocaine bit.
Got it. Understood.
Eli Roth saved that for The Green Inferno. He probably had the same idea.
Yeah.
He was like, man, what if they actually did cocaine in this movie?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh wait, I'm gonna steal that. I got that.
Those pirates. Well, and speaking of like possibly stealing plot points, did anyone else think of Steven Spielberg's Hook with the kidnapping of the son and turning him into your next pirate king, and then David Warner's like, "You're my son now." And there's like, totally Hook with Dustin Hoffman and Charlie Korsmo from Can't Hardly Wait and all that stuff.
It's been a while since I've seen Hook, but yes.
I totally saw. I could see where you're coming from. Of like, I would definitely say Steven Spielberg watched this movie and was like, you know what? If there's anything I'm going to steal from, it's going to be The Island.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. He's moved on, but he's watches his old Jaws compatriots movie, The Island, and he's like, that pirate kidnapping thing is interesting.
You did mention David Warner, and that's another thing
he's
that
amazing.
I couldn't get past. Is he's a hell of an actor. I've always really liked
great
David
in everything.
Warner.
Yeah, sells the shit out of everything he's in.
Aside from The Island,
not his fault. Though. Not his fault.
I really, really couldn't buy him as the very, very like leader. What is his name? John, and he just had like a normal name. It was like John something, right?
Yeah,
John David Now, something like that.
John David Now. Yeah,
yeah. It was just like, David Warner, you're not scary. Like, Michael Caine's more intimidating than David Warner, and it's just, I don't know.
He's like super scrawny in this movie too. Like, he doesn't come across as very like intimidating, Like,
yeah.
Well, yeah, there was a lot of like that. It was just sort of had to rely on its own weirdness. Like the pirates have their own manner of speaking that was like kind of Spanglish with a little bit of French, I guess. Like there was, because they're descended from Spanish pirates, which was the story behind it, and they have like their own rituals and everything, and so it had to sort of rely on its own weirdness. But the way everything was sort of portrayed, it didn't quite pull it off, but boy, it was an odd movie.
Yeah.
I enjoyed myself, but at the whole time going, this movie's insane.
Yeah, that's why I like a lot of these movies I mean, I get more enjoyment out of just batshit crazy movies than I do like normal films, I guess. So there definitely is a lot, I thought, to at least enjoy, at least for a one-time viewing, at least enjoy in the island. I thought the weirdest scene for me, and I mentioned this to Brad earlier, and but it's the scene where the woman comes in and she wants to get some thrust on, apparently.
Oh, yeah.
And she has this like tub of goop, like oil or something, and she just like slaps it onto his chest. It looks
like Vicks Vapor Rub.
Yes.
Like she's rubbing it on his chest, and then her hands move lower, and you're like, okay, this is happening.
I guess this is happening right now, and
right.
That was just a very, very odd scene.
And by the way, we never see her again, right? She just runs off with a crossbow at the end, and we've never seen, we don't see her for, the last 10 minutes of the movie. She's not dead, though.
No, she's just gone, apparently.
Yeah, she's just gone.
She's getting her thrust on.
Yeah.
The Island 2!
Yeah.
With Michael
Oh, God, no.
With Michael Caine's baby that he made with the crazy mud woman.
No. That actually might be better.
It might be. Did they ever explain the mud thing, or was that just...
I think it was implied that she was in mourning. That was my take on it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah, because he's responsible for killing her husband or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, protecting himself.
Who was that weird-looking guy who jumped on his boat. I think, that's what I took it on as that, this is her mourning shroud. And then she wiped it off, when she took Michael Caine back to her little hovel. So weird. There's some real weird, fantasy wish fulfillment stuff going on here about, wanting to escape and, tap into your savagery and these people need me for sex, and it's so odd. But I almost admire it for its straight up craziness.
And what about the pilot? We have in the beginning the pilot's circling, and then he crashes, but he just walks away from the he runs, and then the plane explodes, and he's okay.
Yeah, no, yeah, nothing.
I'll see you guys later.
His reaction's amazing. Just kind of.
It's where the fuck? Where are you going?
Right. Well, and Michael Caine's reaction, too. He and his son were just in a massive plane crash, and what does he say to his son? He's like, hey, other dads don't give their kids an air crash, do they? That was pretty great, huh? And you're like, no, they're in a fucking plane crash.
And the plane fucking explodes, and they're running away from it, trying to live.
Yep.
And it was just I think that was the turning point for me, because with the badass opening and the kid learning how to shoot, knew how to shoot. When that happened, I was like, I don't get this, from there it went downhill.
Shifts. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the shifts in tone of it begins like a slasher flick, super creepy, and you're into it. And then it's Michael Caine in New York City with his son, and you're sort of okay, not really seeing yet. And then it's a lot of him and his son, and then weird plane crash. And then at the 35-minute mark, shit goes crazy because the pirates show up and kidnap them. And then it slows down a bit, but then there's just the sequences, both where they take over the schooner and then when they take over the Coast Guard ship, by themselves are insane and really well done and huge. Obviously you can see the budget for this movie is on the screen. You can see it's this was expensive. That is not a cheap way to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but altogether it makes a kind of a mess.
Yeah, I needed a...
Do we want to go on that Peter Benchley has a hard-on for water?
Oh, I think he had early success and stayed in his lane, man. And just,
because isn't everything he's ever done pretty much has been in? Because obviously The Deep and Jaws, of course.
He did one he wrote a book called either The Beast or Beast that they turned into a TV series about a giant squid.
No.
Yeah. Almost all of his stuff is aquatic related.
Yeah, everything I'm looking at is
his dad a fisherman or something?
I don't know.
Or like a pastor. I don't know.
I don't know what his background there. I mean, I'm sure he says it somewhere. I don't think like he obviously has a passion for oceanography or whatever, but I don't know if he himself ever was.
Yeah. I don't know. I just found that interesting.
Yeah, I'm trying to see him. It looks like he was born he was East Coast, so New York City, and then New Jersey and things like that. So who knows? But yeah, all the titles of the things he's written: Dolphin Cove, Cruel Jaws, Creature. He's responsible for. I guess created by. Never mind. What else?
Are you looking
Dolphin
on
Cove.
IMDb right now?
Well, where the hell? Where else am I going to find information on Peter Benchley? Right now?
Give him a break.
Jeez.
I don't know. Maybe fucking call him.
Whoa.
Well, let's,
oh God! Don't.
Let's see if I can find a.
Do you know Peter Benchley?
Sadly, he passed away in 2006.
Oh,
God.
Oh, I forgot.
We have
he
this
died.
thing where I always make a comment of like, "Why don't you ask the person, Sean?" And then Sean busts out with, "Hey, this person's dead." And it's like, oh God! Like every time I talk, like I talked about Gregory Hines being on the fucking Eve of Destruction episode.
Yeah, boy, I listened to that episode, guys, and I love Gregory Hines. I do not love Eve of Destruction. But you guys gotta cut Gregory Hines some slack.
Oh man,
it's his Terminator.
I know.
Gregory Hines as Kyle Reese.
Well,
that's a good pitch. That's probably the pitch.
Totally is. Totally. Well, hey, let's take a quick break, and then we'll come back and we'll wrap up our thoughts on the island, and then I want to go and talk about the disc. There's not a lot to talk about, but we'll wrap up the disc, and then we'll go from there. So, the group I'm going to play for you today, their album comes out in June, but they do have a song that they've released a lyric video on. The group's called Clipping, and the song I'm going to play for you right now is called Work Work. You're listening to the Screamcast. That was Clipping with the song Work Work. I believe they're Sub Pop's first kind of hip-hop group, so it was very interesting that they picked up that band. Their album comes out on June 10th, and the album is called Clipping without any vowels. I don't know why they do that. But anyway.
CLPPNG? Is
yes.
that how you do that? Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Couldn't it be clapping then?
It could be. It could be anything. You throw a few letters in there and see what you find out. What you get.
Okay.
Clipping?
I think that is interesting. All right.
Well, I wanted to talk about just the because this disc, unfortunately, I mean, and this is why this is such an oddity that it's even got a Blu-ray release on Scream Factory. It's not a very well-known movie. Of all the movies I've seen so far, this is the one that I've wanted somebody to explain like what they were thinking in this. But there's no special features. It's a bare bones disc. And then even the transfer wasn't that great. What do you guys think of the transfer on this?
I thought they were good at all.
No, I thought it came and went.
Yeah.
I thought there were especially early on, like some of the ocean stuff was like, whoa, that is gorgeous.
Yeah, the opening with like the title sequence and like the title card. Like I was looking, I was like, oh man, this looked like they grabbed like the original negative or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of falls flat. It really does. Like it looks, and I think I told Sean whenever because we discussed this before the show. I actually checked to see if I had the DVD in or not at one point because I was like, oh man, I think I actually put the DVD in, not the Blu-ray. Nope, I had the Blu-ray in the whole time, and it did not. It's not terrible by any means, and I'm sure I don't know if this ever made it onto DVD or not. I know of course VHS, but I'm not sure if it went into any other. Do you know? Guys, if it went on the DVD?
I don't know, and though I think we said it's a lesser known movie, though it is funny because I have very strong memories of this VHS cover art. That hand reaching out of the water holding the knife was something that I was constantly thinking of before I even knew the name of the movie. And then sure enough, I was looking at Scream Factory's website, and there it was. It's like, oh yeah, that thing. And so it's a very kind of iconic image, you know, when you think of those iconic VHS covers in your video store browsing days. That I know you're so fond of, Brad. That it is one of those that always jumped out of pretty cool cover art.
Yeah, it's a great
cover.
Yeah,
and that's the thing is I remember, like, that's what I'm saying. Like, I have the VHS. It just never, like, looking at the cover, but when you flip it over and you kind of read the back, it's like, man, this does not match up. And a lot of movies didn't do that. In the 70s and 80s, you looked at a cover and it was like, holy shit. But then you flipped it over, or you actually watched it, and it's completely not what you expected. And, I understand it's a selling point, and that's what this felt like.
I think The Island is an interesting title as well. It's sort of, given what the movie's about, it's kind of I don't want to say misleading, but it's kind of underselling, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you should call it like Pirates Are, or anything like that. But
that would be better.
It's just sort of nondescript, and it's just The Island. It's like, all right,
yeah,
that island.
No, it was very, very, very flat.
Yeah. It looks like, Brad, this did make it a DVD, but it was when Universal was doing these Vault series where they were basically doing like Warner Archive, and they were burning you a disc, basically, sending it out to you.
Oh.
And before that, it was on Laserdisc. For any of you Laserdisc aficionados.
LD.
I actually am co-owner with my wife of a very large Laserdisc collection from her father. But we don't have a player. But we have a massive Laserdisc collection that I need to start going through and really take.
Yeah, that's when they first started introducing like commentaries and everything. And
sure,
there's a lot of lost and really, really good comment. Some of them did transfer over with DVDs, but some of these companies that just wanted the rights to license out the film for DVD never went into the vault and grabbed some of these commentaries, so they are kind of lost on these Laserdiscs.
Yeah,
not a ton, but there's a few here and there.
And Laserdiscs for some reason sell like they're just like I don't fully understand the VHS collecting thing. Sorry, Brad, but there's a lot of people that collect Laserdiscs as well.
All right, let's talk about it. No, I'm just kidding.
Don't get Brad started on VHS.
To each their own. It's all. I understand if it's a movie that hasn't made it the jump to DVD.
Right.
Hell yes. Own it and
well, no,
Brad, your collection is amazing.
That's mainly the point. I do own a few.
1,000.
A few thousand VHS tapes. But I do own the occasional. It's on DVD or it's on Blu-ray, and I haven't got rid of anything that Scream Factory has released because I usually keep those VHS because I never actually went to DVD on a lot of them. But I think the whole fun. There's so many of these films. Like I'm in that room right now where my tapes are. And just looking over there's so many. You could just pick one up, and it's never made it. And I think that's special because that's probably going to be the only format that movie's ever going to be on, no matter how many companies there are releasing these films. So even if, like, The Island kind of blows, it's really and there's other Scream Factory titles that I do not like, but I'm so happy that they are releasing them because if they don't, they're going to be gone. There's certain titles that they are releasing that people will never, ever, ever see.
Well, and I think it's a common counterculture to happen when we are sort of inundated with so much like data and so much media that there are the people that become those collector's edition junkies, and those really like taking the time to find the best version of something. It speaks to, how vinyl is coming back in an odd way, and obviously in a much smaller way than it was in the 70s and 80s. But still, it's still coming back. There's still people finding appreciation in what were previously considered outdated forms. Or outdated movies or outdated music or anything like that. It's we like. Oh, sorry. Headset problem. Sorry. We like to. Thank you. Whoops.
Nice recovery.
Thank you.
I'll give you an 8.5 on the dismount.
Thank you very much. I'll take it with that mess up. The best I can hope for.
Like, I had it pictured in my head of actually what was happening when that happened.
Was me falling out of my chair.
It was, something that, actually, you bring that up. Is your demo reel where you're, like, in that, like, pilot cop thing still available to see?
Oh, no, that was a pilot I'd done a while back. Yeah. It was,
dude, that shit's hilarious.
Thank you. Yeah, that had never aired. Yeah, that was hilarious. That was a funny pilot, cop comedy pilot I did back in the day. It was funny. Back with sporting my killer mustache. Yeah. What I'm babbling on about though is just sort of as things become like more spread out, there are always groups of people that that go for things like what Scream Factory does, which are those like special edition, limited edition things. Finally, like honing down onto those rarer items. And I obviously I think Scream Factory is doing a great job, and things that are not the most obvious releases, things like The Island, things like, and sometimes it leads to mini resurgences, like something with Halloween 3 or which I'm sure is doing pretty well for them at this point.
Yeah.
So I had somebody the other night when I was watching it. I put it on Twitter that I was watching The Island. And I had somebody ask me if I would recommend it, and I was kind of in a little bit of a conundrum because as an oddity, I definitely think that The Island is worth checking out for people who are who like Michael Caine and who are interested in at least checking out Peter Benchley's work, and even even
just
like
to see Michael Ritchie's,
yeah,
even not
Michael
doing
Ritchie's
a comedy,
work. Right?
No, yeah, I agree. I think it's extremely interesting in the context of of where it came in everybody's careers. I think there are some genuinely like really entertaining moments, but it's so all over the place. Maybe it's a good movie to watch in a group or something.
Yeah. No, I didn't like it, but I would definitely recommend for people to see it because I think it is something that is different.
Yeah. It's a little slow, as you said. It's
a little slow, but I think with a group, I think that this movie could be more fun than just by yourself.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah,
because it's something that would be fun to talk to, afterwards, like directly afterwards, or like even like just like looking over at some point and saying, "What the fuck is happening?" Because I really wanted that to happen. I really like. I even
did that kid shoot that other kid in the face? Yes, he did. Yes, that's exactly what just happened.
And I was, and it would like those types of moments right there, and even like the opening when everybody's getting slashed and hacked to pieces.
Right.
It was like, holy shit.
There is that moment of like why Michael Ritchie? Like if you look at the history of he done, and part of me was like, part of the producers and the executives had to be like, he works well with kids. He did Bad News Bears. He did both Bad News Bears and the sequel and everything. Yeah, he works great with kids. Michael Ritchie. Here's an interesting kid movie for you.
You know what's fun about that though is I'm a big fan of a movie called Student Bodies that was released a year after,
which Alan Smithied, right?
He just went uncredited because it was something I remember reading. It was something about a Paramount there was a strike, so they wanted to like do as many movies as they possibly could that weren't I guess you'd call it like a union, like non-union movies or whatever.
Yeah. And
he just had his name taken off of it. And I think he was a producer as Alan Smithy.
Oh.
For it, but he directed this fucking hilarious 80s slasher.
Someone was talking
And
to me about that movie the other day, and I had it is one of those movies that I don't think I've ever seen, or if I did, I have, it's been so long, and now I've literally heard of it like 3 times in the last week.
yeah, it's really good, and that's part of, because of his background, because like you mentioned, Bad News Bears, the Golden Child with Fletch Lives, and like he did Wildcats.
Right.
I really was trying to find some type of comedy and you can look at it that way. And
there's a bit of it.
Crazy it was.
Yeah.
You could look at it more of like kind of just more insanity, which is close to more than funny than I think the violent stuff.
Right.
I think
it shows it. I think it shows its head in the early portions, like with the pilot and with the cop who chains him up, and
yeah,
you have this sort of almost weird like Coen brothers like character aspects where it's like every character that steps onto screen is sort of off in some way, and so I think that it comes out there, yeah, but
it leaves. It does leave.
Yeah.
For the rest of the movie, I don't know if I remember it ever coming back. But yeah, there's plenty of humor.
Well, I mean, there's
humor,
weirdness. There's weirdness, but everything is so weird that you can't really tell one thing from another.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why I ask, like, if you'd recommend this, because I don't know if you can rent this or not. I don't know if it's streaming anywhere, but the Blu-ray itself is $20, so that's kind of a tall order for something without commentary, special features, or anything.
I don't know about that.
So I don't know, and I had to tweet back at the person, I recommend checking it out, but there's no special features. So,
right.
Take that information
it's one of those things that needs to be knocked down in price.
Yeah.
With caveats, I will recommend it. If you happen across it on like some TV channel at some point, like, give it a watch. It's entertaining.
Yeah.
And there's a few sequences you will not believe are happening. But sure. Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, guys, I think that's going to do it for our conversation on the island. I think we've talked it to death. We're gonna we've been trying to do these every week, but occasionally we'll go probably 2 weeks. We had some technical snafus, and we're hoping to get back to the weekly thing. So keep an eye on Twitter, because it's kind of the best way to keep an eye on what's going on with that. It's Scream_cast on Twitter. And then, of course, you can find us at thescreamcast.com. Morgan, can you tell us where people can find you and some upcoming projects that you have?
Sure. I'm pretty active on the Twitter myself. You can find me at Mr. Morgan P. Brown. I talk about movies and comedy and television and a lot of horror and some sports. So, but also stuff going on right now. I'm an associate producer on Oculus, which is coming out April 11th. Mike Flanagan, the writer-director of our film Absentia, which we were talking about earlier, Oculus is his follow-up, and we're very excited. We're very proud of how it came out. So should be coming out wide everywhere. You're probably seeing posters and trailers all over the place.
Well,
so,
isn't that the one that there's a pretty badass poster for that, right? Is that the one that I'm thinking of?
There's a couple posters. There's one with the two child stars of it right now. That's been a lot of places. And there's another really great one with the star Karen Gillan from Doctor Who, where she's sort of half coming out of the mirror. It's a story that revolves around a haunted mirror. But it's not like any haunted mirror movie you've ever seen before, I assure you. So there's a few different poster arts out there, but it's pretty exciting. Relativity and Blumhouse are handling the distribution along with WWE Films, and
wow.
They are getting it out everywhere. The exposure is pretty fantastic.
Does it star a wrestler?
No, it doesn't. No, WWE came in. I think it's definitely an effort by them to kind of make themselves a little more known in sort of the horror world. And they came in long after the film was done and came in and like are helping out with marketing and distribution. So yeah, I've gotten that question a couple times, sort of like, is there a wrestler in the movie? It's like, no, actually there isn't. I had to think about it for a second. I was like, wait, No. Maybe that got no. I think we're good.
Yeah. But Katie Sackhoff is in it, or Katie Sackhoff is in it. So I'll be checking that out.
Yeah, she gives one hell of a.
You would.
What does that mean, Brad?
Of course I would.
You problems with Katie Sackhoff?
No.
You show Starbucks some respect.
No, I love. It was just Sean's tone. It was just deviant.
Got it. But yeah, so Oculus is very exciting. I'm about to work on a couple more indie horror features here in the next few weeks, which I'll be talking about soon. And I just did a short film with Rebecca McKendry from Fangoria and a couple other horror folks like AJ Bowen and Darren Lynn Bausman. That one's called Found. That's going to start playing some fests here. I was just at a little fest here in LA last night called Cinemayhem, where we showed it, which is pretty great. We're hoping to be putting that out on the interwebs soon. Yeah, so keep an eye out. I'm in a Pepsi commercial, which played during the Oscars and has been playing here and there a bunch. So if you see me there, just know, yes, that is me.
Next time I see you, can you sign a Pepsi can for me?
Sure, I guess.
I don't know.
Why not?
I think that's a good idea.
Sure, why not?
I think so.
Yeah, me and Cuba Gooding Jr., who's also in the spot. So yeah, I keep busy, but if you can follow me on Twitter or I'm on Instagram as well, I normally keep people pretty updated.
Cool.
Yeah. And Absentia is available to watch right now on Netflix Instant, and has been for a while. So give it a watch if you haven't.
I highly recommend it. If you follow me on Twitter, I pretty much talk about it quite a bit.
Thank you, Brad.
No problem. I like it a lot.
One of our early champions.
Yep. That's actually how we met.
It is.
Yeah.
The magic of the Twitter and of the internet.
Who's this one guy championing this film? Oh my god.
What's this guy jacking off about? Like,
Brad Henderson will not shut up about this movie. Let's see it.
It's like he's making me tired of my own fucking movie.
I tell you, man.
Must have drop him a line just to shut him up. Jeez. Okay, we hear you.
I get it.
And that's how people
it's
are
awesome.
with me too. Yeah, and it's like, man, that was really good, but you won't shut the fuck up about it.
No, I have not reached that point with anybody yet.
Awesome. And Brad, where can people find you?
On the podcast.
On the podcast.
He's right here.
He's
You
ready
can
right
find
now.
me on the island of Michael Caine and Dave Warner. So.
Well, I should point out that I've started writing for popsyndicate.com, and Brad writes for popshifter.com. So I apologize.
That's not confusing at
I
all.
apologize for any confusion
Yeah.
once we start posting stories and stuff. Mine's the stuff that's really horribly written. So, you know.
I'm sure
I wouldn't say that, Sean. My stuff is horribly written.
I'm sure the good people at Pop Syndicate don't think that.
Well, see, now everyone's going to be like, well, now both of them are shitty writers, so it doesn't matter.
What am I doing on this podcast?
Are you pulling me down with you?
Yes.
I just tried to give you a compliment.
Boy, if I knew this podcast was run by two such shitty writers, I don't know what I'm doing here.
I know.
Yeah.
We're more, we're better at articulating than writing. Wait a minute.
Sure.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know. All right. Okay. So everyone check out The Island if you want to. I'll close with that.
Wow.
You're in the
that
mood.
didn't. After all that, we did not sell one copy
ringing
for
endorsement.
George Thackeray.
I know.
I'll say it. Brad did not like it. I had a fun old time. I laughed quite a bit.
I do recommend it if you have $20 to spend, by all means spend it, but I'm not going to tell someone to spend $20 on it, but I would definitely recommend checking it out just for the curiosity of it.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Keep it on your wish list and and keep an eye out for it.
There you go.
Buy Slumber Party Massacre instead.
Well, that I would say buy Slumber Party Massacre instead for sure. So we should, hopefully the next couple of weeks we'll be talking about Slumber Party Massacre, and then I want to somehow weave in the movie Beneath, at some point in the next couple of weeks as well. So
I need to see that. I've heard very good things. I love Larry Fessenden stuff.
Keep an eye for that. And we'll hold our remarks for the podcast when we cover Beneath. But
okay.
all of you have a great week. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, and if you want to, please leave us a little review on iTunes and then on Stitcher or something like that. And we would appreciate it very much.
I'll take care of it.
Thanks, Brad.
I'm a shitty writer, so I'll write a shitty review for us.
All right. Please do. All right, everybody. Have a great week. We'll talk to you next time.
See ya.
Oh, don't tell me you're leaving. The party's just begun.